Broadcasting to the world, this is On Call with Chad McCall. In our show, we bring you inspiration, strategies, and insights on how to start, grow, and scale your business.
It's drastically changed my life.
The show is so informative. I just love it. It's honest. It's helped me grow as a person.
Real talk about life, lifestyle, society, and living limitless. Learning from the top influencers across the world, along with industry experts, authorities for you to live your greatest life. It's time to level up.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Here's your host, best-selling author and mentor, Chad McCall.
Welcome to another episode of On Call with Chad McCall. As with every episode, the goal is to bring value to your life and your business. Today is the day that we are going to bring it for your business. If you're brand new, you've been in business for 20 years, or maybe you just have an idea of what your business will be like one day if you decide to start, you're going to be glad you listened to today's call. I'm calling a young lady who was a corporate attorney, opened a digital agency in Los Angeles. She's worked with huge brands like Facebook and Zendesk, but it's also worked with startups. We're going to be talking about branding when you go to the virtual world, of how marketing can take your brand online now, and finally making the necessary changes to get more sales. So hang tight while I get CEO of Elevate My Brand, Laurel Mintz, on the line. Hello, Siri.
Hello, Chad.
Will you give Laurel Mintz a call?
Of course, I would love to give Laurel Mintz a call.
Hello.
Laurel.
Yes.
This is Chad.
Hi, Chad.
I've got you on my podcast.
Oh, yay.
How are you this morning?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I
Thank
am
you so
so
much for
good.
having me.
You are just the person that I wanted to talk to today. How is California? How's LA right now? How's the weather?
It's pretty perfect, I have to say. If you're going to be quarantined, 80 degrees and sunny, not too bad.
That weather does not sound bad at all. Let's talk about coming out of this quarantine, Laurel, and branding, and how important it is for the entrepreneurs and the solopreneurs or the business people that are listening to this podcast, and how important it is right now.
You know, we started the agency in 2008, 2009 when that dip was happening. And what we saw then and what we're going to see now is that those who doubled down on digital or who started to invest in the digital aspects of their businesses were the ones that came out of this on top. That's really the big takeaway from this conversation that I hope all your listeners will embody is don't get scared. Now is a really great time to invest in digital and move more in that direction. It's going to help you come out ahead in the long run.
Well, you said something important there. You said scared. Like it's a lot of people scared, not just because they're brand new, but there's people scared that are starting over, like they've been in business for 10 years or maybe 20 years. Their business may not come back. Or if you were an employee for someone for a long time, that 10 years gone, you're going to be starting all over. So when someone's starting over, they have a skill. And I try to tell people that you've created some type of skill, and right now is the best time to put that skill to use. But they're worried about creating a name for themselves. They're like, people don't know me by doing that. How can they get known if they're starting over?
Well, the first thing is all about branding. So making sure that you're really clear about who you are and what you're offering and also who you're targeting. So I find everything starts from the brand conversation. So being really clear on your messaging, your positioning, and your targeting is absolutely key as you're starting out in any industry or as you're looking to target a new market.
And so when you're saying who they're targeting, that's important, I think, too, for people with really understanding who their ideal client is. What's some advice for you to tell someone how to find out who their ideal client is or who they're going to be marketing to?
It's a great question. We find a lot of times that the first person that you're usually targeting is almost a direct reflection of who you are as an individual or as a business. So one of the things that we do is we do a personification exercise with a lot of our clients, and anyone listening can do this as well. And all it really is on a whiteboard or giant sticky pad or, your wall, if you have one right now, you write out 3 potential audience targets. And so you give that person an actual name, and then you break down who you believe they are from a demographic standpoint. So things like like gender, age, marriage status, education, things like that, as well as, and almost more importantly, psychographic traits, the reasons that they would be purchasing from you, things like what social channels they're on, where they live, why your service is critical to their needs. And what we like to do is give that person an actual name, because you want to make sure that as you're going into the marketing and advertising world, everything that you develop, you're asking the question back to that person: would Rebecca buy this? Does this reflect her needs and how we want her to receive our services? And usually there's 3 different kind of levels of target personas. So there's the first level, then there's a secondary level, and then sometimes there's a tertiary level as well. But you want to develop these personifications, or personas rather, so that when you do go into the advertising realm, you at least have a hypothesis of that target against which you can test. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, and I think this might scare some people, but you said in the beginning is, another reflection of yourself could be your ideal client. Now, in searching for those people, how can I search for someone like myself?
Well, social advertising is where we start with all of our clients. I think people get, again, really nervous about spending money on marketing and advertising right now. But the great news is that digital, the numbers don't lie. So it's the best time ever to start testing and playing with digital in terms of advertising, to determine if you really do have your target market personified properly. And so what you can do is you literally just go to facebook.com/advertising, and you can start to see how drilled down you can get to who you believe that target audience is. Now, before you even get to that point, you have to come up with kind of a creative concept of what that advertisement might look like. But the digital world will tell you that this is either working or it isn't working. And in this day and age, it's even better, because we know that digital is less expensive than ever before. Cost per clicks are down, engagement and eyeballs are up. So now is absolutely the time to take a little bit of a risk and test on digital. And you can do so with a pretty small spend, $10 a day, across multiple ad sets or tests. And what we see is the numbers between those ad set tests start to kind of diminish. And when you have a lesser number between the ad sets, and I'm getting a little granular, but then you can know that you have the messaging, positioning, and targeting properly. So when you develop these ad sets across, for example, Facebook, which is the least expensive platform, you're basically testing 3 things. You're testing your creative concept, so visually what you think your audience is going to respond to. So create 3 or 4 different ads that have a different image and the same text and the same targeting. Then you're going to flip the script, and you're going to switch up the targeting. You're also going to do the same thing, testing the copy. So it's called A/B testing at a very high velocity. And I know it sounds kind of scary and intimidating. It's really not. It's literally just making things different, seeing what the numbers reflect to you.
So if you're brand new and you're not really a copy expert and you're not really an ad expert, what is something that you can tell someone that's brand new at it? They just copy a picture of a cat, and they just put some words on there. Like, what do you advise someone new if they're just not the brightest at knowing all of the technicalities of how to create an ad?
That's a great question. What I would do is make sure that you go on, there's a ton of free visual asset platforms out there. So there's one called Unsplash. And basically you want to make sure that you're starting with an asset or an image, not to get technical, that is license free, right? You don't want to get in trouble when you're making advertising because you're using someone's image that you don't have the rights to. So find a free site like Unsplash where you can download. They're going to be stock images probably at first, because the likelihood is you're not going to be able to afford a big fancy photo shoot. But there's also on Amazon, there's a lot of, if you have a product, there's light boxes that you can literally buy on Amazon that can make things look super professional for like 30 or 40 bucks. It's really not that hard. Plus a really simple lighting package. Amazon is an amazing tool for that. But if you're not going to do a photo shoot, I would say go to a free website where you can download images that you can use license free. I would say test a couple different images that you believe, like say Rebecca's your target. Do you think Rebecca would like that image? And then the same thing on the copy. Do you think Rebecca would like this copy? And the good thing about all of the digital channels is that each of them has a different number of characters that you can use. So it's not like it's unlimited. So you have to come up with an overarching kind of concept, but then you have to kind of narrow the focus by necessity per channel, because you only have so many characters you can play with. So it's not as intimidating as it might sound. And the truth is that when I started out doing this, I fell on my face a million times. So just try it. There's no harm in just trying.
With different platforms, like there's Facebook and then there's maybe, Instagram. Then what about the seasoned people that are already doing some like maybe they've done Facebook? Because there's some people that have been running their business for 10 years that are going to be listening that are saying, well, I want to level up another angle. What would be my next step? So for beginner, let's give them 2 or 3, and then advanced person, let's give them one additional, tip to maximize their ads.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have already been testing on different channels like Facebook or Instagram, you kind of already know what is working for your audience. So you created this hypothesis, you've tested that hypothesis, and the numbers are telling you this is what your audience is responding to. So you already have kind of level 1 kind of under your belt. So the next step up from that would be doing something like Google Ads. And again, this is a very layered approach. And I'm glad that you asked this question because people are like, I don't know where to start. Always, always, always start with Facebook, Instagram, because it's the least costly platform and you can test and evolve your message and targeting and creative there first. Once you've done that, then it's time to play with Google. And Google just released a statement basically saying, hey guys, we've changed our algorithm again. And if you don't spend money on us, you're never going to be found. So you must play with Google. I know, it's just crazy. They're like the 800-pound gorilla. I don't know why someone hasn't, risen up against them yet. But the truth is that you've got to play nice with the 800-pound gorillas. So once you've figured out your messaging, positioning, and targeting on Facebook, Instagram, then you can take that and expand it onto a platform like Google. And you really do need to play nice on all these channels. I think that's a huge mistake that a lot of brands and startups fall into is they're like, I'm going to put all my eggs in the Facebook, Instagram basket. And then they don't realize that they have to play nice with other channels like Google. And then I know that you do a lot of B2B. It's important that if you're doing B2B that you're playing with a platform like LinkedIn as well. Again, LinkedIn, Google, they're all more expensive platforms than Facebook, Instagram. So start with a platform that you aren't going to be mad at yourself about spending a couple $100 and maybe going into the ether. And then once you've perfected it there, or at least gotten as close to perfect and comfortable as you can, then you can expand into other channels.
You mentioned something that stood out to me when you said algorithm, because there's a lot of beginners and even advanced people I've heard tell me the algorithms change, or they heard someone say algorithm before and it threw them off to the abyss. Like, oh my gosh, their algorithms. No one's going to see my posts and things on Facebook now. They don't see them on Instagram or Google. Why are they going to all of a sudden start sending that? So when you say algorithm, kind of elaborate just a little bit on what that really means across the platforms.
It's just complicated math, honestly. And nobody knows what the truth of the algorithms are. Everyone kind of is guessing as to what those algorithms are doing to your content and creative. But the truth is on most social channels, you're only getting 1% to 2% of your audience. They're seeing your organic posts. So that's why it's really important for you to start spending some money on advertising, because that will increase your visibility and awareness in a much bigger way so that you're playing nice with all the different algorithms. So there's really no way to perfect and know exactly what's happening with the algorithms. But you just have to play with the different channels and test and evolve accordingly. So don't let the word algorithm scare you. Nobody freaking knows what they are. They don't. They just don't. And if someone tells you that they know how to beat it, they're full of shit. Sorry, can I say that on the podcast?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You just said it before me. I'm glad.
So yeah, don't let that, the big words and the big platforms intimidate you.
So what could someone plan on spending if they're new, and they want to get their product out there? What would be a typical ad spend for someone like that that's just starting out?
It's really hard to make a generalization in that category because it depends on if it's a product, if it's a service, what kind of product, what kind of service. You really have to be specific to your market. But the great thing, again, about using a platform like Facebook or Instagram is it's literally facebook.com/advertising. And as you start to drill down into the targeting, into the affinity groups, etc., of your product or service, it'll tell you this is how many people are interested in this product or service within your category. And it'll tell you if you spend X, you're going to get this much Y in return in terms of potential eyeballs. So it's not a perfect model, but it certainly can give you a sense of how much you need to spend and how you're targeting that spend. And again, that's the great thing about a Facebook, Instagram, and even a Google, is that it tells you if you've got $100 to spend, this is how many potential eyeballs you're going to see. This is how we're going to allocate that over a month. And then this is what the expected return might be for that.
And I think the cool thing is you can stop and start at any time you want. You don't have to spend more. You just all of a sudden aren't going to get a bill for thousands when you planned on $20. I think when you're just starting out, it's very easy to navigate, and test, because you've said that a couple of times. And I want really people to write that down. Test, test, test.
Right.
You're not going to recommend someone to go out there and say, "Oh, I'm going to the market with the perfect thing." No one ever goes right out to the market with something they don't change, do they?
No, it's always an evolution. And to your point, you set the ceiling for your spend on all these platforms. So you're not going to spend crazy amounts of money if you don't set your ceiling at crazy amounts of money. So if you want to spend $500 a month, then set the ceiling at $500 a month. And again, the great thing about these platforms, now that they have evolved and they're matured, is that they have optimization opportunities within the platform itself. So they'll help you, and that's really their job, especially at Google, right? Their whole job is to get us as consumers exactly what we're searching for from a Google search perspective, right? But for us as brands, what that means is that we're being supported by the Google channels to provide value and to provide the right products or service to our audience when we're spending ad dollars. So it's a win-win on both sides, honestly.
Well, what about someone who's selling a big ticket? Because I know some of the listeners here have high priced programs, meaning a big ticket item could be, a high level coaching program or mastermind, or could be as high level as, getting listings for homes, because that can be a big ticket item, like, a real estate, a buyer or a seller of a property. I look at all those as high ticket when you're, a product is, thousands and thousands of dollars. Is there any difference of what a person does with ads and their spend when it comes to doing something that's high ticket, or is it all the same?
It's a great question. The higher the price point, the more touch points, we call them, you need to create with your potential audience. Because basically, when you're marketing, you're trying to create top of mind awareness for your brand. And so think about it. Like if you're at the checkout at the market and you want a pack of gum that's $1, you're not going to think about making that decision as deeply as you might if you're going to hopefully buy a Ferrari, right? It's going to take a lot longer to buy the latter than the former. And it's the same thing with big ticket items in terms of products and services. So when you have a bigger ticket service or product, you want to think about all of the different touch points that you can create to make sure that someone knows, likes, and trusts your brand before they're ready to make a purchase decision. Because the truth is, as much as and as a marketer, as much as I would love for our clients, prospects to make purchase decisions when we serve them ads and when we want them to. The truth is that we are, as marketers, our job is to create that top of mind awareness so that when those consumers are ready to make those purchase decisions in that category, our brands are the ones that they're thinking of. So it's all about top of mind awareness and visibility. And back to the original question, the higher the price point, the more of that you need to create. So I want everyone who's listening to think about this as a multi-channel approach. It can't just be Facebook, Instagram. It should be kind of omni-channel, as we call it. So Google AdWords, email marketing, content marketing, social media marketing, organic social content, and creative. It has to be kind of this whole universe, especially as it relates to those higher price point items.
It's like a well-rounded, I mean, it is a marketing plan is what someone's putting in, not just a marketing, strategy. It's a marketing plan. I think there's two differences in the two.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What do you think about the follow-up? How important is follow-up after you're engaging with them? What do you recommend for people that you're putting the ads out there, but sometimes the ads just aren't making the sale? That's creating awareness. It's creating maybe opt-ins for you. How do you determine what to do after you've got the eyes or you've got the attention of the client and they've made a contact with you, or your ad has reached someone? What's the next step?
Well, it's really about developing that customer journey and being clear what the key performance indicators or KPIs along the way of success are, right? So, to your point, if you're putting an ad out there, it may not be a direct conversion, but the KPI shouldn't really be a direct conversion for an ad immediately. I think that's a big misconception of advertising, especially for higher ticket items. When people come to us and they start spending, money on advertising, and 2 months go by and they're like, why isn't this converting? We're like, well, we're creating awareness and visibility. This takes a long time. In fact, we tell new brands it takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months to really understand from an omni-channel perspective what is working for your audience, both from a messaging, from a platform, and a targeting perspective. I forgot the original question. So what is the journey is the most important component of this conversation. And for advertising, most likely the KPI should really be conversion to your database. So how can we create an ad or creative that is engaging enough to get someone to sign up? And usually that ad will take someone to a landing page or to your website where there's a pop-up that says, hey, if you sign up, you get 10% off your order, or sign up and get this amazing piece of content free to download. So we call those irresistible offers, and they're incentivizing people to sign up for your database, because at that point, then you can continue to market to them over time, again, creating that multiple touch point awareness for the brand so that when they are ready to make a purchase decision, you're top of mind.
Oh, see, that is perfect, because that will help anyone, regardless if you're starting out or if you're seasoned. You still got to get them into your system or into whatever CRM that you're using, but getting them into your database so you can work on that journey. But a lot of people just think that, hey, I'm going to throw the ad out there and I'm going to just ring in money. I'm going to wake up and my merchant account's just got money in there. That's not how it works. It's a
Yeah.
process, and letting them realistically understand that they've got to put effort into doing that, which where it's going to require some amount of money, can be minimal to get started, but it's creating that brand awareness. Okay,
That's
that's
exactly
really
right.
good.
I always say it's kind of like dating, right? If you make one phone call or send one text message, the likelihood that you're going to marry that person is probably slim to none. But if you're investing in that person with many cocktail dates and coffees and dinners, and then you meet the parents, and then you move in together, and then, you know what I mean? Like, this is like a journey. It's the same thing with a relationship with your potential customer. So make sure that you're developing that relationship in a really respectful, long game kind of perspective.
Yeah, you just don't lock eyes with someone and walk up and just lay a big fat kiss on them, right? Okay, all right.
I think you might be thrown in jail for something like that.
Yeah. Okay, I want to change the conversation now to something a little bit different, but you own Elevate My Brand. Now, that's a 100% women-owned business, right? It's all women.
It is. Yes, we're very happy. We're WeBank certified, and it's been a great platform for us. It's part of our ethos as a firm, and it's also allowed us to get into some of the bigger firms like Facebook. We got into because we are a certified women-owned, minority-owned business.
What advice would you give for someone that wants to do something cool that you've done?
Yeah, I think the first conversation there would be about surveying that audience. So, if you're just starting out and you have a couple people who you believe are kind of your targets, I would suggest you have either a formal survey that you send out. And the great thing about formal surveys is that they can actually be sell through opportunities, right? So, if you have a product or a service, even, you can send out an e blast, and MailChimp is, I believe it's free for up to 5,000 contacts. So, there's no excuse not to have a database or CRM integration into your website. You can either do that formally by sending out a survey and saying, hey guys, if you answer these 20 questions, you get 10% off your first order or $10 off your first order. It's also a great way to test what your audience responds better to, like an actual dollar amount offer or a discount percentage offer. And you can also have a more informal, if you're like really, really new and you don't have a database, just have conversations with people who you believe are your target audience and ask them what they respond to, right? And I do believe that men and women are marketed to very, very differently, and also depends on the product or service category. So, if you're selling muscle cars versus feminine hygiene products, it's going to be a really different conversation.
Right, and I think that the tailors the marketing to that too. That's what I
Absolutely.
was going for. Is you have to have that message that can help everyone when you're setting up your creative, or you got to really think about who your people are. Meaning, not just do they like what you like, but if it's the same gender that you're marketing to.
That's exactly right. And from an advertising perspective, back to our, first part of the conversation, you don't want to try and be everything to everyone, because then you are going to spend a lot of good money for no reason on targeting an audience that's never going to buy your product or service. So again, it's about getting really specific and as granular as possible in terms of who you believe you're targeting, what the message is, and what the creative needs to look like to really get them to respond to your company.
Well, Laurel, you have given everybody tons of information, tons of insight today. I'm over here trying to work on creative now just from talking to you also. So, how can people follow you, learn more about you and what you're doing, and how they can reach out to elevate my brand? Tell us a little bit how to make connection.
Thanks for asking. Obviously, we've got our website, elevatemybrand.com. And if you go to the website in the upper left-hand corner, there is a free marketing guide. It'll send you e-blasts once a week with the DIY kind of breakdown on how you can start to create some of these efforts on your own before you're ready to work with an agency. We're also offering a free 30-minute consultation to any small businesses, startups, etc., who need our help during these uncertain times. So that's our way of giving back to the community. And then, of course, all the socials, Elevate My Brand LA on Instagram. My personal Instagram is Laurel Mintz, MINTZ, and find us on the interwebs.
I know you got to go. You're going to be slammed. You got tons of appointments, but everybody, I asked 3 questions. So it's how people get to know you a little bit better that they're not going to find on your bio or on your website or anything. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is the first song on your playlist if you look down at your phone right now?
Goodness, let me look. I have Dua Lipa. Her newest album is coming up right now on my Apple Music. That's my favorite right now. Yeah, Dua Lipa. Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
Ooh, it's a toss-up between Legally Blonde and Clueless, I think.
Okay, how about this one? What's your dog's name?
Oh, I have 2 dogs, and they're both food related, if that gives you any insight into who I am. But one is Miso, like miso soup, and the other is Twizzler.
Well, Laurel, thank you so much for the time you spent with us today and shedding light on marketing and branding with all the listeners. And we're definitely going to do it again.
Thanks for having me, Chad. I hope everyone got what they needed out of this, and thank you for providing these insights. I so appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks, Laurel. And everyone listening, don't forget, you're always on call.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, friends, you are always on call.